Ready? Good evening and welcome to the August 15th regular City Council meeting. We're glad that you are here. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mayor Harkey,
Present.
Vice Mayor Harris is absent excused. Councilmember Encinas.
Here.
Councilmember Ellis.
Here.
Councilmember Stewart.
Here.
Councilmember Orlando.
Here.
Councilmember Poston.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Our invocation will be brought forth by Reverend Father Telo Luande from St. Andrew the Apostle Catholic Church, and our Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Matt Orlando. Reverend, please come up.
Let us pray. God of justice, mercy, and love, we thank you for the gift of life and of our great nation and of our city. We thank you for our councillors and staff and for giving them the opportunity to serve the people of our city of Chandler. Lord, make them good servants of all those they serve and inspire them to speak the truth with respect but without shame, to offer hope to others but without fear, and give glory to you in every word they speak and actions as they take as a counsel. Help them to act with character and conviction, to listen with understanding and goodwill, and to speak with charity and restraint. Give them a spirit of service, reminding them that they are stewards of your authority. Guide them to be the leaders your people need and deserve. Help them see the humanity and dignity of those who might disagree with them, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with reverence your creation deserves. And finally, Father, renew all of us gathered here today with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build together a community worthy of the human person. We ask this as your sons and daughters, always confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Amen. Mayor, real quick, Father, this is just like church. Everyone's sitting in the back.
standing now.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Council Member. Council, on Monday, we had opportunity to review and ask questions related to the items on the consent agenda. How would you like to proceed tonight?
Mayor,
Councilmember Stewart.
I'd propose to move to approve consent agenda of the August 15th, 2024 regular meeting items 1 through 38.
Okay, we have a motion, second by Councilmember Encinas. Any recusals or other actions requested by council? Seeing none, council, please vote.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously.
Very good, thank you. Next on our agenda tonight is an economic development update. I'd requested this in light of the upheaval across our nation to better understand how Chandler is faring and where are our challenges and where are our strengths at this point. Micah Miranda.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for this opportunity to provide a briefing. As you know, yes, there has been a lot of economic turmoil these past few weeks. And what's interesting, though, is we live in an ever-evolving economy. And Chandler's not immune from that. Obviously, we've seen headlines over the past, like some of these up here. However, it evolves into something new, something different, which is okay. We have businesses that close, that open. On the economic development side, we're always proactively working, though, to identify those future opportunities. Obviously, the big thing these days is what's happening with Intel. We've seen those recent headlines. The impact on Chandler is not known yet, and probably won't be known for about 2 more months as Intel goes through their process, voluntary separations and buyouts. So, however, I will say, when you're making a multi-billion-dollar investment in 2 new manufacturing facilities for your fab clients, I think Chandler's going to be in a pretty good shape. And based upon all the feedback we've heard from our Intel partners, they're pretty confident that Chandler's going to be pretty resilient as well. However, all that being said, there's a lot of positive momentum in Chandler. I'm not going to talk about everything on these slides tonight because we're going to be here for an awfully long time. But I want to highlight a few of these things in here. And first and foremost, this recognition we received from Financial Times Nikkei as Chandler being the 16th best city in America for foreign direct investment and the number 1 city in Arizona. To put that in perspective, there's about 20,000 cities and towns in America. It's a large country. And the fact that we're top 20 is pretty phenomenal. And number 1 in Arizona speaks highly to the environment we've built and what we're going to continue to build in the future. And then all these other awards and recognition really exemplify what we're building in this community to remain a resilient and vibrant economy. But where does that start? It obviously starts with education. Chandler's educational attainment rate, 49%. From an economic development and community vitality perspective, that's phenomenal. And what's interesting is the fact that when I first got to Chandler, our educational attainment rate was about 39%, which is still extremely healthy, higher than the state and national average. But as we've grown in population, we've become more educated. That's unheard of. Usually as you grow, you regress to the mean. Chandler's getting smarter. And it's something that obviously has a direct impact on income and our quality of life. So supporting education has been a hallmark of our community, and the impacts are obvious. And so this is where we spend a lot of time in working with our external partners in our community to keep driving educational attainment and making sure Chandler's the destination for people that can contribute to our economy. Where does this take place? It happens in the innovation economy. 27% of all of our workers are in high-tech industries. East Valley, which is known throughout the country as a hotbed for innovation, is only 15%. The US as general, 10%. So again, we are punching well above our weight for this little town that is Chandler. But we do this in a very targeted approach. We don't make any, we don't try and hide the fact that we are targeted. We know we can't be everything to everybody. We have opportunity costs. And so we really target those industry clusters that are going to drive us into the future. They're going to provide well paying, stable jobs that can support our residents and their families. And that's automotive tech, aviation, aerospace, advanced business services, healthcare, high tech manufacturing, IT, and software. I'm going to talk a little bit more about healthcare because it plays into some of the other things we're going to have to face as a community. Um, what this shows right here is a location quotient comparison. It compares the density of jobs in Chandler to another region. And in this case, it's the MAG region. You can see here that we are well over the location quotient of a 1-to-1 ratio at 4.54 to 1. So again, 27% of our employment, high-tech manufacturing. This is where it shows up. These are stable, export-oriented jobs that produce something here, sell it somewhere else. Those dollars come back to our community, supporting our quality of life. I'm going to go down to healthcare because this is an area that we're really focused on. We are obviously underrepresented in the density of healthcare jobs in Chandler. This is going to become even more prominent in the future, and you're going to hear why. But this is a target industry cluster that we're really aggressive and supportive of. So when we had the Dignity Health expansion, making sure that gets done, the Banner Health Hospital, getting that project over the hump. There were some challenges with that one, but those have long-term impacts that we're really working to minimize, but at the same time drive expansion opportunities forward to address some of the future challenges. But the proof's in the pudding. I'm not going to go through all of these because my fellow directors will be upset if we spend an hour here. So I'm not going to get into each and every one of these. But again, little old Chandler is doing phenomenal. We have obviously major expansions from Intel. We've had publicly traded HQ relocations in Viavi. We're going to be celebrating Comtech's corporate headquarters opening tomorrow. And you go down the line, these are the types of jobs that previous councils and this council has really wanted us to go for. And so we are doing extremely well. Insight, another publicly traded headquarters relocation. ASML, one of arguably the most important companies in the world, is doing a new expansion here in Chandler. Stryker, medical device manufacturing, that straddles the healthcare and manufacturing industry clusters. We are doing a good job of recruiting and helping companies enter into Chandler, and these are exactly the type that council has asked to go after. We recently welcomed Wedgwood Pharmaceutical, a new pharmaceutical manufacturer, to the Air Park area. Now, those are the projects that I get really excited about, but our residents tend to focus more on the things that they walk into, they can touch and feel. So Trader Joe's, Josh, this has been, probably the number one question I'm asked every week. When are we getting to Trader Joe's? So we'll be celebrating Trader Joe's grand opening here this fall. Andretti's opening up. Shields. Again, when Nordstrom's was closing, there was a lot of angst. On the economic development side, we had been soliciting them for, I don't know, like 5 years before it went public, and we were mailing them packets and harassing them. These things take time, and we pay close attention to what is happening in our real estate space so we can backfill or help others expand into it. So Andretti's, first in the region. So we're really targeting those retailers and experiences that we don't currently have that'll add to our overall vibrancy. Going to talk real quickly about development stats. You can see here we've got 17 million square feet of retail, 11.7 of office, and about 28.6 of industrial. Obviously, we're not going to be delivering any new office product right now. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but the industrial space is very critical, and I'll spend more time on it. So retail. In the winter of 2020, we were having all-day weekend calls with our retail community, our brokerage community, our developer community, thinking that was going to be the long-term negative that we were going to have to solve for, and how do we go about doing that? Our vacancy rate, 4.7%, well below our 5-year average. It's very healthy. We've done a lot of things to take Class C retail off the market and reposition it as other opportunities, whether that's residential or medical office. So we're doing really well there. Our lease rates are above our 5-year average. And we're going to continue to see this vacancy rate dive down especially as redevelopment projects in Uptown Chandler come to fruition. This number is going to dive well below 4% very shortly here. On
Mayor.
the office side, Mhm.
And it's shrinking. Is that chart's telling me?
the available square footage,
Is that, it says vacant and available. Does that mean overall retail square footage is decreasing or is it flat or what do you
it's
see?
flat. We're
Okay.
seeing flat retail. We're not adding a lot. And we're
This means that our availability is shrunk.
Mhm.
Is that driving up cost?
Slightly.
Okay.
Slightly. There's normal growth, but it's being backfilled by other value add things in our economy.
Okay.
On the office side, this is the one where we have a majority of our attention in the real estate space now. We know we're going to have softness here. However, we've got some ideas to reposition properties to drive it down. Historically, Chandler was 50,000 square foot tenants, 3 stories or more. Now our tenancy is shrinking from 50,000 square feet to 25,000 square feet. So we're working with our development community, and a number of council members sat on our development roundtable where we're working through these issues with our development community. But again, we have a saying, product wins projects. So there are office projects, they're coming back to the market. We're positioning Chandler for those. So we have things to show people now. However, we do have some things that we want to bring forward in the future to make Chandler more desirable for the new office amenities that users are looking for.
Yeah, so office space, okay, go back here, presentation, I guess. They took it off the screen here. So a couple of things. Obviously, since COVID, there's this work from home, hybrid, maybe in office 1 day, 2 days. Um, and and we're not unique to this, obviously, Chandler. There are leases that were given prior to COVID that may be coming due the next year or two, uh, where there may be some vacancies, even though we don't see it today. The vacancy rate is high or low, whatever case you want to look at it. So what are our thoughts on that, or is that something your staff's working on? And the revisioning of that issue?
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando. So we call that vampire space that we know isn't fully being utilized, but it's on the market as occupied. So there's a few things we're doing. One, we're working to find developers and partners who are willing to take that risk now, and we're seeing it to invest in subdividing their space. Um, there wasn't 100% surety that the office market that exists now was going to stay. The development community is now reacting to that, and so they're now willing to spend time and money to reposition that space. The second thing that I'm going to address a little bit later to that point is from a overall city approach, what are we doing to deliver new amenities and new locations that will draw those tenants who are looking to release, as opposed to other markets? How can we position our employment corridors um, to respond to the new realities? So mixed use, retail in areas that previously didn't have retail, walkability, placemaking. Those are the things that we're going to be bringing forward to council to find some solutions to, while simultaneously, office leads are our number one goal right now. Fill and backfill the space.
Okay. And then go back to don't go back to the slide, but the medical piece of it.
Before.
You have to go back to, I'm just, um, so, as your team marches down this revision, VIISION, um, the, there are industries, i.e. medical, you talk to, where you need somebody to do an EKG.
Mm.
So you need people in that building. You just can't do that remotely. Maybe you could someday, but is that something that is helping us drive that answer as well?
Absolutely. Through the mayor, Councilman Orlando, that's some of that repositioning we're talking about. Development services staff actually had a really good conversation with our new development services director on flexibility around parking standards, where it may not be parked exactly to code, but what can we do to proactively solve these problems to have healthcare backfill that space? And so we had a really good dialogue this morning on solutions, and the development community knows we're working there. And so we've got a couple projects that we think we'll get over the hump, that will medical office users will absorb office space bringing that vacancy rate down. So we're definitely pushing that route. Um,
And obviously light manufacturing, and I'm just using an example, Price Road corridor, that allows for manufacturing all those buildings, or that's something you have to look at a general plan overlay or a PAD or something?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, converting office to general manufacturing flex space, it can be done. However, the guts of the building generally don't support that, whether it's slab thickness, column space, specifically
Right.
stacking, internal building height. So those buildings traditionally don't lend themselves outside of what I'll call that flex R&D office, which is a use that's permissible within the price corridor, employment corridor.
Yeah. One last question, Mayor, if you don't mind. This real estate, obviously, I think the biggest issue we're facing today is, so we did a lot of call centers to diversify our portfolio. Now we're seeing that hybrid workspace. We have large centers. Is there a revisioning for that, reimagining for those facilities as well?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando. So what we're hearing, it's very company specific. A lot of those companies are bringing their employees back in a complete hybrid capacity, and they own their building. So Wells Fargo obviously has a 800,000 square feet campus. They're still committed to growing that campus. So it really varies on a case by case basis. But the general thought is we're going to continue to be a Western hub for consolidation. So what we're hearing from those larger advanced business service, financial services firms, they're not quite ready to completely get out of their office space that's owned.
Okay, I lied. One quick question. You brought that up, consolidation. Is that something we're seeing in the market as well?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, yes. Chandler has a very compelling business case for West Coast consolidation. So larger financial firms, generally west of the Rockies, are looking to shrink their footprints as a result of COVID and centralize a lot of those operations. And Arizona in general, and specifically Chandler, where a lot of these companies own their own campuses, they're a focus of that consolidation attention.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Poston.
Thank you, Micah. This is a great presentation. I really appreciate this. And I know I've been bugging you about this stuff for a long time, so I really appreciate it. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the hybrid workforce. I think we thought that was all going to go away. Everybody thought everybody was going to go back to office. And I think we've seen a lot of, like, overall in the country, it seems to, and correct me if I'm wrong, sort of be a failed attempt to get people back full time. And it seems like the hybrid workforce is here to stay. So I'm curious, how you're adjusting your strategies based on that. There's a domino effect. When you don't have people, they're not going out to lunch in our restaurants and all of those things. And we're positioning the building. If I remember correctly, is it about 35 miles people will drive, or that's kind of what they're looking for their workforce? Does that change, the way we're presenting ourselves to companies and where our workforce is, or how, I'll just let you take it from here. How are you handling or adjusting, the hybrid workforce? Because it seems like it's here to stay for quite some time.
Through the mayor, Councilmember Poston, yes. In my opinion, it's here to stay. Each businesses is handling it a little bit different, as you would imagine, whether it's 3 days in, 2 days in. But in the area that the city control, this is going to be part of our new general plan, in all honesty. And I'm going to talk a little bit later in the presentation. We're going to have to reimagine our employment corridors. It's going to have to, in my mind, become much more mixed use, vertical development, where you could, hypothetically be an employment corridor where we never let residential before. And it could be ground floor retail, 2 stories of office in the middle, and then 5 stories of residential living, to create really that amenity to support those retailers who are there, as well as service the employees that are looking to stay out of their car. So it's going to be a thoughtful approach as we go through our general plan update to allow some of this. So staff is already talking about it. I've had a lot of conversations with the planning staff, Kevin May over there, is how do we deliver product where people want to be? And that's another part of the presentation around demographics. And we are thinking about it. And we're telling developers, like, hey, what you've heard in the past, it's not going to be Chandler in 2 years. There's going to be probably a whole new set of development ideas around making our employment corridors viable for the next 40 years in light of the changes that COVID impacted.
That sounds to me like more of the very similar to the approach that we've taken downtown, where you bring in the people and they feed those businesses, the retail, the offices, that walkability, that kind of thing. Is it kind of a similar
Yeah,
strategy there?
through the mayor, Councilmember Poston, I think that's really going to be the crux of it, is getting people closer to where they work. You mentioned the 30-minute drive time. We have opportunities to even shorten that now. I mean, most of the employees in Chandler are within 30 minutes if you live here, but that's going to be the wave of the future, that true mixed use development in micro sites. And I think it's really going to be dependent on which employment center you're in. West Chandler, not so much, right? Those are more manufacturing jobs where it's just not conducive. Price corridor, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Uptown Chandler, yeah, certain areas it makes sense. So it's really going to be site specific on that interaction between those different uses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor,
Councilmember Ellis.
I have a.
Proceed,
Can
Councilmember.
you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you. Micah, you brought up education as our number one space right now where we really need to see growth and also be flexible and open. Can you talk a little bit about more the partnerships that we're looking at, not only those we already have, but how we are forging forward with other organizations and universities and everything to continue to put out a space where people can come to learn and then grow that workforce that we just talked about. That's it's so well needed right now.
Absolutely, Councilmember, through the mayor, Councilmember Ellis. So education is really driving innovations in economies. And it all starts at our K through 12 levels. And so partnerships with CUSD in our workforce development space, for example, the For Chandler Education Partnership, CUSD, Chandler Gilbert Community College, the Chandler Chamber of Commerce, as well as the city, making sure we're delivering the workforce based upon the needs of our businesses. So we're collaborating across a lot of, I don't know where to look, this is weird. A lot of different entities. Obviously, we are welcoming the first cohort to downtown Chandler from the University of Arizona for their Master of Business Analytics next month, or next week, as a matter of fact.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they're propping up new programs down here. GCU, as you know, is very, very excited about the growth and onboarding they've experienced with their accelerated bachelor's of nursing program. And we're talking with them about additional programming that can be delivered in their West Chandler campus. And then obviously our proximity with ASU here in downtown, they continue to grow programs, get more exposure. They're doing more programming around their, Josh, help me out, their Masters of Public Administration program. And so that's something where we're not taking our eye off of it. Obviously, these are long-term opportunities where we're trying to incrementally grow access to higher education. And this fall, the city will be awarding our first scholarships to Chandler Gilbert Community College individuals. So we hope to have them before council here in a few weeks once those scholarships have been awarded. So education is very much a long-term partnership with these entities, and we're not slowing down there at all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Proceed, please.
All right. So medical office, our vacancy rate, 4.6%. This is an area of need, and we've talked a little bit about that. Councilmember Orlando was asking, how can we reposition properties to get them to serve medical office? That's what we're working on now. And it goes back to our location quotient. We need more medical office facilities to at least get on par with the region and also deliver healthcare services to a new demographic cohort that I'll talk about in a second. And then on the industrial property side, 5.7% vacancy. It's incredible. We're throwing up product. It's being absorbed. This trend, I don't think, is going away. There has been a lot of geopolitical shakeups over the past 5 years. Everybody understands now that the supply chain within critical materials needs to be shortened, specifically in advanced manufacturing. That's where Chandler's bread and butter is. So we're really working to deliver new industrial product for the types of users that we want in that advanced manufacturing, aerospace, aviation, and standard manufacturing. We're not interested in industrial product that doesn't have the density of jobs that council has asked for. And so we need to keep delivering the space, and it's going to tie into some of the long-term visioning things that we need to keep a close eye on. Councilmember Stewart.
I want to comment about that, about the industrial. I remember 16, 17, maybe it was 18, we started talking about diversification of our employment corridors and diversification period. And that right there shows me, and just everything you showed in the earlier slides about how many high-tech industrial manufacturing jobs we haven't created, but they've created in our community, is a testament to you diversifying and the community diversifying our economy. Do you foresee that sort of helping us stem the tide in case there is a recession coming in third and fourth quarter?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Stewart, diversification is key.
Yeah.
Whether it's, people always ask me what keeps me awake at night. It's any one of our primary industry clusters getting, slammed. We're not seeing that. We're very well diversified, as you said. And that onshoring is going to make us even more resilient. And so we're leaning into that. It's definitely on the higher end stuff. We're saying no to other onshoring industrial projects that do want to come here. They don't fit within our industry cluster. They could use a lot of buildings, a lot of land, a lot of water. And we look at all these things through the lens of opportunity cost. I have one project here, 10 more down here. Which one is best for Chandler in the long run? And let's pursue that one to put into this building, provide that diversification.
Well, I appreciate you following that vision from back then and getting to where we are today, because I think it's going to help us hang on if something's happened. You know me, I'm always kind of a bear.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. Thanks.
Absolutely. And I'll just add kind of to that. I really got to give development services a lot of credit. They took a lot of that feedback to heart and have really been out there on the front, working with the development community as well on the things that council directed them on. So they've been doing a good job. Unemployment, which is really a pretty good barometer of economic performance. We have 3% unemployment in Chandler. We have virtually zero unemployment. Economists call anything under 4% virtually none. So we are in a very good space here, but this is why we're devoting so many resources and partnership time to workforce development. We need to matriculate our talent locally, get them educated, and then get them paired up as early as we can with local employers to keep these numbers low. We don't always have to worry about people coming in. We've got very smart individuals, very smart students. We need to do a better job, and that's what we're working towards, getting them early, getting them the training they need, whether it's technical, whether it's university, across the spectrum, and then getting them connected with our employers to keep these numbers down. This is phenomenal. I mean, you look at Arizona, about 4%. The national average is slightly above that. Chandler continues to outpace the country in economic performance. Restaurant and bar revenue, which I always consider a proxy of economic health. All these numbers are great. Go look at a Olive Garden on a Thursday night. If there are people waiting outside an Olive Garden on Thursday night, the economy is doing good, and that line is long in Chandler. So we have 1 month to go in this fiscal year, and based upon historical trends, we're going to get over 18 million in fiscal year 23-24 in restaurant bar sales tax collection. So trending in the right direction there. But one of the things we haven't talked about as a community, or at least publicly with council, is our population. And what's before you right now is a population pyramid. And it's an effective way to visualize population age change over time. And generally you want for a long-term healthy economy, you want a pyramid where you have younger population on the bottom to replace the older generation. And the US and advanced economies in general, the population pyramids are changing. You can see in this slide that the US population has grown, but we've also significantly aged over that time. And the baby boom cohort's driving a lot of that. And that's going to have demographic implications, not just for the country, but for Arizona and Chandler as well. So that's some of the things we're starting to think about. How do we address these issues before they become real? And just to show you what Chandler's looks like, the gray bars are 2010 population. The gold is 2022, and you can see we are getting older. When you look at the bottom, 0 to 14, we are much further behind where we used to be in that age. And then when you compare the middle-aged population, the 30 to 45, between 2010 and 2020, we've gotten much older, and it hasn't backfilled with the younger population. So these are things we're thinking about. And these could have impacts on our economic competitiveness. But we're in a good position. We're thinking about it. We're having the conversations, but it could impact us in terms of labor force ability. Consumer spending habits change. What does that mean for the city? School enrollment. I know CUSD, we talk with them a lot and their demographer about what they're seeing in school enrollment. It's going to have impacts, certain areas. Changing service expectations from our residents. What are they going to want from us? And then sustainability of revenue streams. We are a consumption-based economy. Um, as you get older, you just generally spend less. You're not buying roller skates and baseball gloves and all those things that young families need. And so this will be a potential challenge, but we have ways to address this and ideas that we want to start talking to council about. And a part of it is that vision for continued vitality. And I stole this from Yogi Bear, is the future ain't what it used to be. Chandler in the future, what made us successful today isn't going to be what makes us successful in the future. And so we're going to have to tweak some things, and we're going to have to evolve with the times. And some of those ideas is, in partnership with stakeholders, we need to market Chandler as the premier community in America for young families and professionals. And this could be a multi-pronged strategy detailing our educational excellence, athletic excellence within our community. It's a huge selling point. Our recreation and cultural amenities to draw these people in. We have fantastic public safety and advanced placemaking to really stand out within the region as a destination for young families. Feasibility for new industry clusters. We have all the requisite talent in Chandler, and there's emerging industries that are nascent that we should start thinking about. Do we have an opportunity in this space? Specifically, I'm thinking areas on the south side of the airport. It's where a lot of our raw undeveloped land is. Can we facilitate the vision for what that's going to look like? One of the things I'm kind of nerded out about is electric vehicles, takeoff and landings. We have an opportunity there. We were the leader in autonomous vehicles. We were recognized as the autonomous vehicle hub of the world in 2021. So we know how to do these things. And so these are some of the other industry clusters that we're going to really want to spend some time evaluating and seeing if they can propel us into the next century. Competitive positioning. I think we really need to take a step back and think about how we can position ourselves as the global top of mind destination for the types of companies we're wanting to attract, specifically in those advanced economies that are demographically challenged. South Korea, Japan, Western Europe. They're going through a demographic shift that's going to be challenging for them. We should be telling our story to those companies because they're going to have to put them somewhere. They're going to need the workforce. And we have those amenities, we have that talent, and they can be doing that here. We need to get in front of those folks and really develop a long-term commitment to putting Chandler at the forefront. Right now, our audience is mostly domestic. You can see here, California, our target audiences right now from a marketing perspective are California, Texas, Chicago, New York, DC, and a little bit of New Jersey. There's some site selectors there that we do a lot of work with, but there's a lot of global companies looking for new homes. And they used to just think the coasts. You got to be in California, you got to be on the East Coast, right on the seaboard. That's changing now. And Chandler has a unique position because some of our natural amenities. We are low on insurance cost ranking. We have a fantastic utility provider in SRP. Access to international airports. We're in a good spot. We need to position ourselves as the company, as the destination for those companies. And then a little bit to Council Member Orlando's question earlier about repositioning properties. We need to have a 21st century development vision and encourage and support projects that will allow us to compete for these modern projects. A lot of that is going to be on mixed use development, that walkability that Council Member Poston was asking about, where you can live, work, and play close to home, very similar to downtown. And so as we approach the general plan update, that's going to be a lot of the conversations that we need to have. And I'm not talking about wholesale throwing the employment corridors and our protection of them over the past 40 years out the window. That's not what I'm saying. It's how can we continue to make them economically viable in a new era where that's what users are looking for. They're looking for those amenities. Think Tempe Town Lake. They're attracting a lot of great companies because of walkability. And we can do that too. Verticality where appropriate. We're functionally built out. We have 2% unaccounted for raw land. From an economic development perspective, Chandler 2.0 up is going to be our 21st century. We got to do that in areas where it makes sense. Proactive investment in infrastructure, specifically water and sewer. We're lucky to have John Knutson and his team. They really have their thumb on the pulse of what it takes to get projects over the line. So him and I spend a lot of time thinking about where we need to put infrastructure investments in North Chandler to allow for redevelopment. We have pipe constraints up there. We can't redevelop some properties if we can't move wastewater and water to serve them. We're kind of handcuffed. And so smart investments in projects that allow us to get ROI long run. And then one of the things that we're working on right now, and it's going to take a while, is we commissioned a hotel study. We've been hearing from all these great companies that are located in Chandler. I have visitors coming in. I have international dignitaries. I have salespeople. I'm having board meetings. Where can I host these things? And so we commissioned a hotel study to quantify, is there a market in Chandler in the Southeast Valley that can support upper upscale boutique properties? And we said, don't tell us what you think we want to hear. Tell us what the market can actually support. So they went out and they interviewed partners, interviewed the chamber, they interviewed businesses, other hoteliers, other communities, airports, and it came back saying, yeah. And so ED staff and tourism staff has been out there working with the hotel development industry to drive this, because that's going to help round out our offerings to these high tech and really innovative companies we want. We need those amenities. We need to be able to compete in that space, and that's where we have a challenge right now. So we're going to keep pushing into that. So in summary, local economic development trends are extremely positive. Sometimes we have all this good stuff going on. I don't think we take a step back and really slow down and appreciate what we have. Out of the other 20,000 cities in America, they would all love to be in our positions. The city council has done a phenomenal job of positioning us over the past years and into the future. Our past infrastructure investments are really allowing us to compete for these projects, and smart investments in the future will continue. But we do have some things we need to think about. Realization of our demographic shifts, addressing gaps in commercial real estate needs. How can we maintain our competitiveness with those projects and where those employees want to go? Commitment to high quality growth. We are now at a point in our maturation where we can kind of lean into projects, press them on design to attract those tenants that are looking for true Class A space. And then this is nothing new to Chandler, but really focusing on the future. Mayor and I had the opportunity to speak to the Business Journal, and we're focused on the future. We don't look at the next quarterly earnings. We look at what the community is going to look like in a decade and how our residents will respond to that. So happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Stewart, you had a question earlier. Are you good?
I was wondering if Micah clearly hasn't had the free breadsticks and salad at. No, I was going to ask you about that chart where you were showing the 16 million through June. Does that mean we're going to blow right past that number, or okay?
On the
So you're
sales tax?
projecting,
Yeah, we'll be over 18 million for the fiscal year.
and so that's a barometer of a local economy. Really is restaurants. I think we talked about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
If people are eating out, that means they still have money in their pocket, and so, all right, appreciate that.
Council, other questions?
Just a comment, Mayor, if I may.
All right, Councilmember Poston, Orlando, and then Ellis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one final question. You talked about, the lease renewals, and I think you called them the vampire buildings. Yeah. Do you have a database of what buildings have those leases and when they'll be up? Like, is that something that is available or information that you have
Yeah,
and are working on?
through the mayor council member posting, we subscribe to a real estate database service called CoStar, where that's where we pull a lot of our data from. We're projecting. We also use it on our business retraction expansion efforts. Like, hey, this business's lease is expiring in 18 months. We're going to go meet with them. So that's where we track some of this space. The one thing that CoStar doesn't allow for is that vampire space, and so that's where having the relationships with the office brokers who represent the building, the chamber when they're doing their BRE outreach. So when we hear these things, we can proactively address it as we hear that they may be looking to leave, downsize. We get in there and start presenting alternatives in front of them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mayor.
Councilmember Orlando.
I was pointing to Councilmember Sines, but I do have a follow-up question. But so the general plan updates not every 10 years, obviously we know that. So is your thoughts on this is to do a subsidiary of this plan in order, like a visioning process like we've done before with the next 20 or the other shoe drops or some of the other futuristic plans? Is that your thoughts on that?
Through the mayor, Councilman Orlando, yes, to answer your question. We've talked about, do we run the economic vitality portion of the general plan as a full-blown visioning session, or do we run it in tandem as a subset of it? So that's something that we're still working through to figure out where we want to put this visioning, but the general plan seems to make a lot of sense.
That makes sense because you're going out after, I think what I heard you say is what we envision in the economic side of this is going to have a huge impact on the general plan. Because there's no longer, there used to be just how much land we have vacant, what can we put there? Let's carve out a piece for medical, part a piece here for manufacturing, and we're pretty much done. Voters vote on it. What I'm hearing you say is well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Are we kind of flipping that a little bit? And let's look at where the future will be in 10 years, 5 to 10 years from now, since the plan is only 10 years. And then what we could do to overlay that future.
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, yes, you're not putting my words in my mouth. That's very accurate. The economic development portion of the general plan, whether it's in it or running in tandem, it's going to be much more integrated. It won't be massing and blocking and tackling. It's going to be much more of what I'll call a community and economic development approach where things are threaded much tighter as opposed to just being what I'll call siloed but adjacent. So very much more integrated in this new general plan.
So the mayor has his economic what's it, the forum team or something? What do we call that? The mayor's economic committee?
Economic Development, ED?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the advisory board, right?
EDAB.
So those folks will be engaged, the chamber, DCCP, local business, brokers, realtors, all those folks would be in this visioning process, which sometimes we didn't include some of those because again, there wasn't that fit.
Yep, absolutely. That's the input. Well, that happens through the general plan. So we get a real 360-degree approach to what the future is going to look like, and they get the buy-in from the community to make it happen.
Well, I think it's exciting, Mayor, real quick. This sends a strong message to the community, the business community, that we're looking at 2.0, whatever you want to call that, or this visioning process that's taken place. I think that's a very healthy, I want the newspaper article tomorrow, the articles to say, hey, Chandler's looking at the next 10 years and we're building for that. I kind of like that. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
So Ken and Jason, please take those headlines.
Yeah, they think
We
they're
appreciate
surely
it.
shaking their heads. No, oh, darn it.
Yeah. And Councilmember Orlando, there are quite a few people from our economic development team will certainly be on both our bond committee as well as on this process too. So they've been engaged, involved, and I spoke with another one today who's really eager to serve. So
And I figured you would be doing that, plugging those key stakeholders in there because they are the future.
Yeah. Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. Michael, I remember when we did the strategic plan for the airport area, and key thing that we mentioned was that it was a jewel. When we looked at the different colors that were represented, how much potential that area has. And I didn't hear you mention a lot about it. I wanted to know, are we still on track with the things that we envisioned? And do we need to, in view of what you just said concerning the general plan, Do we need to keep looking at that again or continue on some of the things we already laid out for that area? And then I have another comment. Go ahead and answer to that.
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Ellis. So the air park area plan really is kind of the vision that we're talking about here, and we're still on track to implement that. It really talked more about innovation, the types of innovation users within those land use areas, and we're holding the development community to it. Actually, had a call yesterday with an out-of-state developer inquiring about our innovation zones and what does that mean. And so, yeah, we're still very much committed to it. And I think um, that approach will be included in the new general plan. I don't want to speak for the planning team, but that is still so new and fresh. I don't think we would be changing course on that right now.
Well, thank you so much. That makes sense. I really would like to take a moment to thank you and your team. I know in the last 2 years you've worn so many different hats, having to go to zoning and then come back again with your team. But along the way, I believe that your leadership has really shown some strong hold where your staff were very much involved in every decision and helping Chandler keep moving forward. I just love the idea that they are here to stay and they are committed to the vision that mayor and council has put laid down, and you have not defaulted from that. You just kept driving the ball forward for us, and hopefully this is definitely the direction that we will continue going in the next 10 years. So I really appreciate you. I'd like to say thank you to you and your team for great work well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, any other? Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, about a year ago, you and I had a phone call, and I was kind of picking your brain on some ideas, sharing my vision, sharing our thoughts on where Chandler is, where it should be going, based on your expertise and what you're seeing there. And tonight, this presentation is a great glimpse and a health check of where we are and the future of where Chandler may be going. And I'm happy to hear that you are looking into the future and rebranding or reimagining and looking at a Chandler 2.0. I'm going to push you even a little bit further because I'm looking 20, 30 years out into what Chandler can possibly be and what our storyline is going to be in that time. So I'm looking at a Chandler 10.0. But with that being said, we've had so much tremendous success, even in the 80s, the early 2000s and stuff, but we're just not there anymore in that sense of space or at that pace any longer. And so I'm wanting us to, even us as a council and with your team, to be looking forward at that. And I think this is that starting step to continue that. And even your slides right now were even a little concerning for me with the aging population and our challenges that we're going to be facing coming up in the near future with this. But I'm also looking at it as an opportunity. It's kind of motivating to see what is going to be our next piece here. What's going to be, whether we're going to be focusing on an industry or a different type of space, whatever it may be. What is Chandler going to be known for is what I'm excited about. And I think you're on it now and you're ready to go for it. And so I'm kind of tasking you with that, and along with city manager, staff, and the rest of this council of coming together and looking at what Chandler's, I don't want to call it a rebrand, a reimagining of what our future is going to look like, because we've been very successful and we've had a long standing name for ourselves. And so I want to continue that for our next generation, our next council, and our residents. So thank you for this presentation tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I'll close out comments, I guess, unless people want to close out my closeouts. I do know that, yeah, that was interesting, the population pyramid and even really reimagining housing for what does it
Very
mean
interesting.
with our current housing, and how do we attract these young families that aren't necessarily, maybe they are, but just looking for new product rather than there's not a lot of existing housing stock, and there comes a point where people move from, some do, from apartments to housing. So I know that's going to be a big challenge for us too, is future workforce and those kind of items. And I know the freeways continue to help us, and transportation in terms of developing that workforce that Angel is talking about, whether they're living in Levine or Casa Grande. We've got some projects 10 years out that will further move people around, of course, but yeah, there's some big challenges, is who is that future workforce that we are talking about to develop those great ideas that are on the tap right now. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me be up here.
All right. Well, very good. Next on our agenda tonight is unscheduled public appearances. I haven't seen any cards, so we will move on to current events. I'll start. Recently, Chandler has been the recipient of 2 national accolades, again highlighting our city as one of the top in the nation. Earlier this month, Chandler was named in Fortune's annual Best Places to Live for Families, which look at metrics such as access to health care, education, affordability, and resources for seniors. We were also named, Livability did a study of the top 25 cities in the Southwest, and we came in 5th as the best place to live, highlighting our fast-growing tech hub, outdoor amenities, or exciting downtown events. And we were the top city in Arizona. Now I say that there was a town next to us that happened to be 4th, but so we'll continue to do that jib jab. And Tempe was right behind us 6th too. So it's kind of exciting. To me, that helps us, a cluster of where people might want to live and move to in the future. So those things help us, I believe, when Tempe, Chandler, and Gilbert are all coming in well. These rankings emphasize the strong work of not only our city, but also our community partners, our school districts, nonprofits, and businesses that have chosen Chandler. So to me, it's always exciting to see how Chandler is being acknowledged and recognized for what we are and where we're going. And my second and last announcement has to do with an event tomorrow. Comtech is having a ribbon cutting, moving their global headquarters to Chandler. So myself and council will be joining leaders throughout the state at a ribbon cutting celebrating Comtech's global headquarters opening in Chandler. We're excited to welcome this global technology company to our community, with Comtech adding their name to our impressive list of cutting-edge companies that call Chandler home. So, Councilmember Encinas. All right. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, with all of this low unemployment in Chandler, we obviously have been working with the school districts and with the local businesses, and it's really about workforce development. So thankful to the economic development team. I want to highlight a new workforce development initiative that was just launched by our economic development team. The Chandler Career Center aims to streamline the connection between Chandler's skilled workforce and the employment opportunities with our local businesses, and that'll help them thrive even more. It's a no-cost resource that offers dual benefit to both job seekers and employers, and has been established in a partnership with ASU's Pipeline AZ. Workforce development is critical to ensuring our local economy is successful, and this additional tool represents Chandler's proactive approach to supporting our local businesses and job seekers. One of the things that I'm the most excited about that's coming up is Constitution Day. So this is the day that we celebrate the founding document of our constitutional republic. And so I want to thank Mayor and Council for supporting that initiative and bringing that forward. So on September 17th, which happens to be my birthday too, but it's my favorite day because it's Constitution Day, right? It's really my birthday. No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna, right out here in the courtyard, right out here at City Hall at 8:30 in the morning, we'll be celebrating the cornerstone of our constitutional republic. This special event will begin with the Constitution Day proclamation. The mayor will be there, and then we'll have engaging speakers, some students from the local school. We the People group will be here as well. So you can learn more in RSVP at chandleraz.gov, Constitution Day, and it is 100% free. So we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you, Mayor.
Will there be a cake called
Was-
We the People called Stewart?
I'm okay with that.
I was gonna say is bringing cupcakes for everybody, right?
Yeah, you should.
That's a good idea. I should
Bring
do that.
cupcakes.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I'll help you fund that one.
I think I'll
Orlando.
take care of that.
You got it. Okay, good. Hey, one of the easy parts of this job is when we listen to our residents. And I know communities have been taking a beating over the last, well, throughout the nation about not listening to their residents. But about 3 years ago, a group of residents from the Chandler Girls Softball League which has been around in Chandler since 1977, one of the oldest, not just in the Arizona, but in the Western United States. They came to us and said, look, Foley's been a great field for us and for years, but we need something new. We need something fresh. And this council and the council before us took that to heart. We put it back into the CIP plan. And on September 7th, I am happy to say we're ready to open the fourplex diamond. The Chandler girls softball team is excited to be there. They will be moving from Foley, which we'll be doing some more revisiting and reimagining of Foley, so everything works in tandem here. So I'm looking forward to September 7th opening for that. I plan on being, they're calling old-time umpires to come back and as a celebration doing the games. I'll be in uniform. Mayor, you got the first pitch, and we'll get a catcher, maybe Councilmember Poston, and we'll
Right.
see if I call balls and strikes on the mayor.
It's always got to be a strike.
It'll always be a strike, Mayor. All right, just
I
for
don't
you.
care if it bounces in there.
Just for
You got to
you.
call a strike.
Strike three, baby. Yeah, but we'll have a good time that day. Finally, again, another item where we listen to the residents, pickleball. The city has taken an aggressive approach to put some pickleball courts up at the Germain Road near Tumbleweed Rec Center. And that'll be soon to be opening up later this year, I believe. Nope, next year. One more year. Sorry about that. One more year. The contract was just let. That's right. Okay, we won't be billed. So again, these are two issues that are dear to our residents. We heard you, and we put this in the plan, and you're paying for it. We appreciate that, but at least we're listening to what you have to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Poston.
Right. Well, thank you, Mayor. Earlier this month, I was very happy to represent Mayor and Council at an event that really kind of showcases why those partnerships between our nonprofits and our businesses are so wonderful. It was a ribbon cutting for the Salvation Army, but it was at FedEx. And FedEx donated an emergency disaster services mobile cam team to the Salvation Army. You can see a few of the photos there that I took myself. Look, they turned out and everything. But this would be dispatched during crises. They're already imagining lots of different ways that they could reach out to the community and help the community. The Salvation Army was so excited to be there. FedEx brought in their executives to talk about how important it is. They have several of these all over the country. But this is why it's so great to have those kind of community-oriented businesses in our community, that they can do things that are going to ultimately help our residents. So Mayor, thanks for letting me attend this event and represent Mayor and Council. It was actually really, really great. People were so excited to see that. It just, can't imagine how people were excited to see this van. So they're ready to get that into use. And if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about something a little personal that I haven't talked about for a while, and I'm going to take Councilmember Harris's space since he's not here tonight. Over the last 9 months, I've had sort of a limited availability to public meetings and those sorts of events as I and my family dealt with cancer. Between being done with the surgery and finally through with chemo, I am back to public events again. I just wanted to take this opportunity to, one, say thank you to the community for being so supportive and understanding. Not good with talking about personal stuff, so this makes me a little nervous. I also want to thank Mayor and Council for being so supportive and kind. There were texts, there was food, there were, this is a big deal. It affects our whole family. Just a quick little pat on the back throughout this. The day of my surgery, I missed a council meeting. Other than that, I didn't miss a council meeting, a study session, a work session, our all-day budget hearing, our retreat. I planned around it. I take this position very, very seriously, and the voters elected me to be here, and I did my best to be here. I'm kind of proud of that on my own, but in addition to that, that could not have been done without the amazing support of city staff, Josh. Poor Marie and our council assistant, my schedule has been a question mark because I never knew what it was going to be from day to day. So she managed that incredibly well, and just a huge shout out to her. It was constantly changing, and she just changed it with a smile. She let companies know when I could come, or I thought I'd be somewhere and I couldn't. But it was also due to the work of our video staff and our IT staff. Also could not have done it without them. And I wasn't always able to give the kind of notice that makes their job easy. So I just wanted to show a little appreciation and a thank you to them. From now on, my schedule will be a little more predictable, but it was a lot to take over. It kind of took over my life a little bit. I just wanted to show my appreciation to both this council and the city staff for helping me through this time. So thank you.
Sounds
Mayor.
like more cupcakes, Mayor.
I was just thinking cupcakes. You
Right.
could join the cupcake crew of Stewart and Orlando in appreciation. So,
I don't think you guys want my baking.
all right. Well, thank you and welcome back. And thank you for just working through. I know it's not been easy for you. So, yeah. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Just a few brief announcements. Thank you, Councilor Poston, for sharing that about our city staff. I'm going to build on that trend because I love talking about our incredible city staff and their many achievements. Just three quick notes that I wanted to make for you and for the public. Some of these may be things that we've passed around the organization, but would love our community to know as well. So I want to congratulate our fire department. They were recently reaccredited for another 5 years by the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. We have really the best fire department in the country. They're one of the few that's not only rated as accredited, but also in what they call an ISO 1 rating, which means we have basically the safest city that you can live in when it comes to fire protection. So congratulations to them for another 5 years of that accreditation. We're very proud of them. Also want to recognize accreditation, redesignation is actually the proper term for our public housing authority. So we have what's called a high performing public housing authority, which is designated by HUD. And so they recently were redesignated again as a high performing housing authority. They received a score, it's a 100-point basis, 98 was the score they received. So very, very high. Congratulations to Leah Powell and Amy Jacobson and that entire team on their redesignation from HUD. And then finally, although she's not here tonight, I told her that I would embarrass her a little bit. Dawn is on vacation, but our very own Deputy City Manager and Chief Financial Officer Dawn Lang received a personal award for her many years of excellence in public finance. So the Finance Excellence Award from the Government Finance Officers Association of Arizona. She was able to receive that last week before heading out of the office. And of course, we all know she's been a very special part of Chandler's financial success for many years. So we were thrilled to have her receive that award from that very important group. So thank you again, Mayor and Council, for your kind words about our staff. And that's all I have tonight.
Well, very good. Thank you, Council. Good meeting.
Thank you.